The best way to maximize your investments right now is to make sure you're aware of currencies. What do I mean? Well, if you look at the dollar, it's been on the decrease this year. In fact, if you'd invested in Europe this year, even if the markets were flat, you'd have made 10% against the dollar. In other words, the euro is 10% stronger than the dollar already in 2025. Is it going to repeat the fall that it had in 1985? In 1985, the dollar fell by 50% over a 2-year period. That's a massive amount of money, fairly obviously. No one wants their wealth to depreciate just simply because they're in the wrong currency. So let's have a look. What's happening and what currencies are going to do well over the rest of 2025? Well, first of all, it does depend on interest rates to some level. In other words, if a country actually increases its interest rates, it tends to attract more money. So is America going to get inflation because of tariffs? If inflation comes in and the Fed either holds interest rates or increases them, the dollar will actually go up. But at the same time, you've got the economy starting to fall. So many believe that tariffs are actually going to be temporary. Temporary in the inflation they cause, but also temporary in the fact that Donald Trump's going to negotiate. In fact, Trump wants to talk down the dollar. Why does he want to do that? Well, actually, it's the same as tariffs. If the currency comes down against other currencies, then guess what? He actually reduces the trade deficit. So reducing your currency can actually make a difference. If you look at the Chinese yuan, you'll see that it's actually 15% down since the tariff war in 2018. Why? They actually, with purpose, have reduced the currency, looking to actually increase their exports by making sure their currency is lower. Their earnings are, in fact, the same, even if there's tariffs on there. So reducing your currency actually can have a benefit. Think about Apple. It sells so many phones abroad. If the dollar's strong, the price of then the iPhone is more expensive. If they can reduce the dollar, then companies that sell from America abroad actually make more money because the cost of their goods to other countries is less. Trump is known for the fact that whilst he'll say we want a strong dollar, it's known that he actually wants to reduce interest rates and he wants the dollar to fall. So is that going to happen? I would actually put it to you, because not only does Trump want it, but also at the same time, many countries are now looking to invest in gold. Gold has done, in fact, has been the best investment during the last few years. That's likely to continue. Right now, it's already at 3,500. It's grown. And of course, if the battle with China continues, it could go all the way to 5,000. So when you're investing your money, just realize that if you're going to invest right now and you are in Europe, you should be looking at European indexes, perhaps the banking index in particular, because that's likely to do well. If you're in sterling, then look at companies that are sterling denominated if you want to keep your money ultimately in sterling. If you don't mind, and you're in dollars or you're in a country whereby, of course, you're actually in the same situation, it's connected to the dollar. Many countries like it, like the UAE and Hong Kong, etc. Then, of course, it's a different situation. Right now, we've got the dollar has actually had an increase of 50% since 2010. It's likely already 10% of that's fallen, but more of it's going to fall. Will the dollar completely fall? Well, actually, so many currencies are actually, or so many commodities are priced in dollars. It's unlikely to totally fall. However, you always got to be aware, FX, the dollar, does make a difference to your investments in many different ways. If you give me a follow, keep me up to date on YouTube with what's happening with various investments, the best place to put your money, and indeed, the right currency for you right now. Then follow and I'll make sure I keep you up to date until exactly what's going on in the markets, in the currency market, as well as in the stock